Wellness Radio.
In my life, there came a time when I had to make a choice. You know, the things just weren't right. I looked around for someone else to blame. I searched and I searched and I reached down inside. And I knew when I found there's a light I can hide. I can be free, I can be free, I can rise above, I can be free.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from KSCO Radio. It's Saturday. What a beautiful day. We had a very nice morning down and around Santa Cruz, looking at just what it's like to have people out and about having a good time, and it was really, really nice. Today, I am reflecting off of a conversation I had with a friend last night whose mother is at the end of her life, and we were talking. This lady is just so dedicated to making sure that her mother's last final months on the planet are filled with love, and she's putting a lot of time and effort into being around with her. And we were talking about the difference between, she brought up the difference between pain and misery, and how miserable her mother feels right now. And, you know, misery is really, there is the difference between misery and pain is, I think in misery, you are basically giving up the possibility of change. When you're in pain, and I've been in excruciating pain in my life, having broken my back before, having had that flare up, a ruptured appendix, several other things, and I'm sure we all have as well, you know, toothaches that are just horrendous. And that pain is, you know, leaves you non-functioning and leaves you, you know, wanting of some kind of relief. Misery is different, because with misery, what she was describing is the loss of desire to live, and just put me out of my misery, quote unquote. And you know, I see people come in as patients. I'm a chiropractor in Santa Cruz for the last 35 years, something like that. And I've treated almost 20,000 people in that time. And, you know, taken care of, I should say, and assisted them in helping their body heal itself. We are successful a lot, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes the body, it's beyond what we can do to help your body heal itself, and it may need, you know, the next step intervention. We always try to get it ahead of time. We have this incredible belief as chiropractors that the power that made the body can heal the body, and you know, this is the innate intelligence that is you. When you think about me or I or you, you have the power, that innate ability to heal yourself. And it's just, I think the main thing I wanted to focus on today is, when is it too late to do something to turn your health around or your life around? And I don't think that time is very near to any of us. You know, I mean, there comes a time, the song, there comes a time when you have to make a change, right? So I think last week I was talking about generations, family generations, or friends that we've known, um, and then they're no longer with us on the planet. Their time in that body has come and they've succumbed for whatever reason. And, we miss that familiarity, that person, that being that's there, and then not. And with the funny part about life for me is I'm getting on in years, 67, which isn't that old and it's not that young. But, I take a look at, I'm a very big, I have a very big interest in my family, going back to Scotland many generations ago, getting to California 5 generations ago, and the other half of them getting to Connecticut in 1634. The Ortons. I'm going to go visit the Orton side of the family in Alaska in a couple of weeks with my family. But usually within 2 generations or 1 generation of the passing of a family member, the kids don't even know who they are and know nothing about them. And here we are working, breathing right now on the planet, doing everything we can to succeed in enjoying life. And, it's been made harder lately, perhaps. But, I was watching a show on TV or I actually not on TV, it's on my YouTube channel, of the pawn shop show, and wasting my time. But some guy came in with a copy of the Declaration of Independence, and it was they brought in the specialist to say, yeah, this was one of the copies made to get out to the other colonies, because there's the only way they could get this out there was to reprint them and get them out there. And this was a very early copy. But it brings to mind the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and they were talking about the fact that every one of them that signed that, starting with John Hancock, were turning themselves in for, they were treason. They were all treasonous to the king by signing that Declaration of Independence. But they committed themselves and the colonies to years of, war and blood and death. But there was a goal, there was a hope for a transition. And perhaps they were having pain from the pressures and the taxation from the king abroad, and the English that were, here on this continent, scrutinizing the lives of the colonists. And, it could get pretty miserable, I'm sure, a different kind of pain and misery. But it got to a point where the founders of our country decided that they were willing to lose everything in order to gain everything. And, a lot of the signers never lived past the war. Many of them lost everything that they had. They were killed in battle. I don't know the numbers I used to of who made it and who didn't. But there was a time that people stood up for their beliefs so strongly that they were willing to die for it. We don't know where this world's going right now. Unfortunately, I do get sucked into watching some of the stuff going on with some of the superpowers around here, and it's just frightening. But and then I'm off having breakfast with my girlfriend today, enjoying ourselves down by the beach, and it's just such a beautiful day, and we're having a nice time. And here we are in our small little world, enjoying ourselves out there in without, it's kind of like your eyes are wide shut, right? So even though most of us on this continent, a good faction of us are enjoying our life, going on, working hard, trying to get educations to our family and our kids, enjoying a life of quality. And but the world keeps spinning. And getting back to the Declaration of Independence in the Revolutionary War, there were so many people that just sat around and watched, and they didn't do anything. It said that 4% of the population fought in the Revolutionary War, meaning 96% of the colonists just sat and watched and wondered which side was going to come out on top. It doesn't mean that they weren't anguished by it or indispositioned, into whatever that word is, by it. But regardless, it was a time of great transition for the peoples of Earth, and in our country was put together back then. A Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and the war ensued for however many years it did. But here we are right now, and I want to get back to the individual, even though on a global basis we are put into a position of if we don't open our eyes, and the only problem is we don't know where to look to find the truth. With your own health and your own life, I started the show talking about a friend of mine who I had dinner with last night, who was talking about her mother, who's in the end of her life, and it's very miserable. And it's making this young lady who's taking care of her mother put her life on hold to help this and help this situation. And I remember when my father was 91, and that's about how long he lived. I didn't live in the same town with him, but I called him every morning on my way to work. And I'm really glad I did, because even though he didn't want to talk long because he was worried about the phone bill coming out of the Depression, I know that by the time he had left the planet, that we had really connected up, and he really felt loved and nurtured, as this lady is doing with her mom. But the point is, where do we decide it's time for a change? Where do we decide to wake up and look at our health individually and really decide if we're going to do something about it? So many people in this country are overweight. We're the most obese country in the world, and our diets are pretty bad. We take more drugs than any country in the world to cover up symptoms that should be telling us that something's wrong. So, and we are inundated with commercials and advertising that tells us that the way to get rid of the rash on your arm is to take this thing called a biologic. And that the condition is only skin deep, but they have you take a biologic, which by definition means not tested yet. The drugs have to be tested to get put on the market. Biologics they don't have to be. They can put them out in a moment's notice. And that's one way they push these through, is by, the moment's notice thing, such as what happened to us 3 years ago. There was no testing, and now the efficacy of this whole disaster is in question. If it ever comes to the light of day, that will be something for the individual to scrutinize on what they want to do in the future. But beyond all that, if you decide, if you have pain, now pain doesn't have to be, just like a leg pain, arm pain, low back pain, neck pain, headaches. It could be, digestive disorder pain. It could be symptoms. It's called pain a symptom of your body not working right. It could be mentally brought on. These kind of things from the situation you have gotten yourself in or are put in. So it's a time to make a change. Is up to you. Are you ready for that change? Because if you are in pain and you don't do something about it, eventually you will end up in misery. And maybe you go in and out of that miserable pain, this debilitating lifestyle change. Now, misery can be mental handcuffs. As an example, I have a gentleman, 84 years old, who came in who had to have a life-saving surgery 4 years ago. And ever since that moment, he's had incredible, when he woke up, he's had such severe sciatic pain down one side of his body that he can't think, work, walk, sit, sleep, stand without this chronic pain that's like an 8 out of 10 most of the time. Now, that's goes on long enough. That's verging on misery. He wants to golf. He used to play baseball as a kid. And, I look at these individuals that come in, and a lot of the older individuals that come in, and I take a look at their age. And we'll talk about that in a minute, because the first thing I want to do is just play a commercial, a success story from Karen, who came into my office in pretty much misery. And this is her story. And then I'll come back and tell you more about it. Thank you. And this is her story. And then I'll come back and tell you more about it. Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I want to introduce you to Karen, another patient who's had some pretty serious surgeries in her back, terrible amount of pain, and has some incredible results with our soft wave therapy machine. You've had a few different surgeries in your back, and you have steel putting the last 3 vertebrae together, and you were still in pain after that.
Yes.
So they implanted in your spine.
Spinal cord stimulator. It made everything so much worse. They revised that twice and added more paddles and pitched it all in. It continued to get worse. All trying to resolve the problem, which was a diaphragm cramp that never went away. It started the day I woke up from the permanent implant, and it ended last week. Can you take care of me?
Oh my God. See if the soft wave therapy machine works for you. We have a $49 special that you can try. Call 459-9990, 831-459-9990. When you're all alone and there's nowhere left to go, the truth is right in front of you. You will see it will make a better road. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I am back, and that was Karen. And what a remarkable woman. She had some surgeries that left her pretty devastated. Lots of metal in her back, titanium from mid-waist down to her sacrum. And just her life was so bad that they put electronic paddles in her thoracic spine to try to block the noise of pain going up to her brain from that low back surgery, which was creating scar tissue in her spinal column. And we were able to help her with the soft wave technology that we have in the office. But regardless, talk about when you see the face of somebody who is almost hopeless come into light, it changes your day, it changes their day. The staff are and loving it. And, that's why we're there. But it doesn't have to be through my office that this change is made. It has to be inside of you. You have to make that decision that you can change. Right now, when I first got my soft wave machine, there were only 200 in the United States. I was the first in California in private practice to have one. And I got mine 3.5 years ago because I couldn't even lift my arm, and I was unable to practice. And thank God I had another chiropractor in the office to help me, but or I would have been devastated. The pain was so bad. I couldn't even lift my arm to eat. I had to use my other arm to lift my right arm because I couldn't eat with my left hand. I kept missing my mouth. But regardless, I went and I got a treatment, and it changed my life. And so now, 3.5 years later, we've been using this machine with incredible results. 20 of my friends around the country have now got them, and there's less than 700 now. But my friend Matt DeDuro is out there knocking on the doors to healthcare practitioners to get it in their hand. But this is a sound machine that the sound comes through 3,355 miles an hour, goes right through healthy tissue, bats up or bumps up against scar tissue, and alters it. And it helps bring your own stem cells into the area. And then your stem cells can become anything they want, so it becomes healthy new tissue in that area. Kind of like a chameleon can turn different colors. This stem cells can become different body parts or different cells, different muscles, organs, ligaments, tendons. But the point is that whether you decide to change your life through something like the stem cell machine or through alternative healing, through exercise, through dietary changes, through positive mental attitude, any of them only happen when you put action into it. So you can make a goal or make a decision to have something change and try to start that process to make the change. And you'll probably, if you're like me, fail several times, step back several times. But it's perseverance that will make things happen for you. So, you know, I think about Thomas Edison, 10,000 light bulb attempts before he got one. Now that has to come from something which is a deep desire to survive. And so many people are living in our country, and whether they're surviving, survival is a scale. It's a scale from barely making it to thriving. And even if you look at financially, you have solvency, you have debt, then solvency, then flourishing. So solvency basically means that you make a buck and you spend a buck every month. You have nothing left at the end of the month, but you're solvent. You don't have any debt. Now, most of our nation is not even solvent because almost all of us live off of some kind of debt, credit card debt or what have you. And there's shows on this station that help address that. When you're in debt, you have to work hard, extra hard, beyond just the solvency point to get out of debt. So if I have to live off a buck a week, I have to make at least $3 a week to put one towards debt, put one in reserve, and pay my daily living. So health is very similar to this. If you have run down your body, if you're overweight, if you're injured, if you're on a lot of different medications for symptoms that are unwanted or even life-threatening, then you have to work a lot harder to not just survive the day, but to work to allow your body to get healthy. And that's where a commitment comes in. And with any luck, you'll make it. And, you know, let's say what luck is where hard work and opportunity meet. So hard work and opportunity equals luck. So that means you can't just get up and do the same thing as usual and expect to get a different result. And sometimes that effort, like this gentleman who I was talking about that had the surgery 4 years ago, incredible pain. He's such a nice guy. And, you know, we were talking and, you know, I found out that he was born in the late 30s. And I've talked about this on the show before. Somebody born in the 30s makes them, you know, in their 80s today. Wow, that seems kind of like some old person, right? But if you think about it, and I mentioned this to him, do you know that almost every rock band I grew up listening to was born in the late 1930s to early 1940s? All of them. They're all born. All the guys at Woodstock, all those guys, they were born in the late 30s to 40s. And it gives us some perspective. Sure, is he an old man? His body might be old, but their minds are amazing. And this guy was telling my Angus, who runs the stem cell machine, that when he was a kid, I don't know how they got talking about sports, but he said he came from a small town and that he was the only one that could throw a baseball over the water tower in town. That's a pretty high throw. And he goes, today, nobody still has not been able to do it. And he's proud of that. And, you know, as you get to know him, he's a pretty cool guy. He's got all of the faculties of being a regular guy, like we all do, or a regular Homo sapiens, I should say. And, but he's allowed his body to go downhill. He got a life-threatening condition that he had to get surgically removed, and that left him in severe pain, almost to the point of misery. And again, defining misery is your every waking moment of your life is focused on that that incident, with that pain, that loss, that chemical condition, that ailment that you have, it's consuming you, and you can't enjoy your life. And it just becomes kind of like a ticking time bomb. So when we give somebody hope by getting them to look elsewhere than just through the next miserable day, and they feel a little relief, that's huge. And we see this so often in our office chiropractically, but also we see it because of just life ability to heal, and especially with the stem cell machine. But I have a new chiropractor at my office, Dr. Taylor, and he's amazing. I went to school with his dad. This guy is so talented. He has so much information behind him, and I'm so happy to have him there. I'm going to play just a talk that we had the other day, Dr. Taylor and myself. And then, because this is really a way for you out there who are listening to go, maybe there's a chance for me to make my body and my life less miserable, or if I'm just suffering from severe chronic pain, or I just want to stay healthy, this might be the place to be. So I'll play that and I'll be right back. If I'm just suffering from severe chronic pain, or I just want to stay healthy, this might be the place to be. So I'll play that and I'll be right back. Hi, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have Dr. Taylor Pascal here, a new doctor in my office, and I'm so excited to have him here. Being a second-generation chiropractor, you grew up day one being adjusted, right?
That's right. I was about 20 minutes old, and people think I'm joking when I say that, because so many people have this pain therapy idea about chiropractic, when really we know that when we adjust the spine, we change the brain, we help the body function the way it was designed to do by taking that tension off the nervous system.
We think about one adjustment, how much power is in one adjustment, and sometimes I think we take that for granted.
Not here, but it's definitely easy to do that because we're so used to seeing these miraculous results with every person that we lay hands on when we remove that interference to normal function.
Exactly. So please give us a call, 831-459-9990, Dr. Duncan McCollum, and ask for the $49 introductory special to see if we can help you.
Hope to see you soon.
Free. You can be free. You can be free. Okay, I am back. That was Dr. Taylor Pascal, lead doctor in my office. So amazing to see him work and the tools that he has in his quiver, especially being a second generation chiropractor that we help people with. And, the body is so incredible. When you think about it, it started with conception. An egg sperm came together and that became a stem cell that within 9 months became a perfect human baby. And then through the birth experience, they love to call it a birth trauma, but it's a birth experience as that child, if it's lucky enough to come down through the birth canal, gets the experience of the pressure going through that space, all of the bacteria and different viruses that the mothers build immunity to inoculate that child at birth, so that when it comes out in the local environment, it's going to be inoculated to the local environment. And then, also by the pressure that going down from the top of the head down to the toes as the baby comes out, the cerebral spinal fluid that's in the brain and spinal column, it gets pushed through the body and ignites the body and turns on life. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then when they come out, oftentimes, as a chiropractor, we want to check the kids as quickly as we can. Both my kids were checked immediately when they were born. My son, Angus, had the cord wrapped around his neck twice and was born at home. And the midwife simply said, "Oh yeah, that's okay. We just undo it when they come around." He came out quiet as a clam, just lay there, opened his eyes, didn't even cry. It was such an easy birth. But, nature has a way to make things go right. And nature needs no help. It just needs no interference. That is a phrase by Dr. Reggie Gold, one of my favorite chiropractic heroes. And so, then we go through life, we learn to walk, we fall, we slip, we fall out of trees and break our back like I did, or you're in car accidents, you play sports, you have you're exposed to different diseases. Your body has an ability to fight them back. Unfortunately, on this planet right now, we have more chemicals in this planet, more pollution, more toxins than ever before in human history. So these toxins get into our fat cells because the body stores them in fat. There's 250 billion tons of toxins dumped on the planet every year now, apparently. And that stuff is, our body is being inundated with this stuff constantly. Now, the very cool thing about our innate intelligence is our detoxification pathways are so remarkable. The liver is the #1 detoxing organ in our body. And it can take years for man to create a toxin or a chemical to use in industry or as a herbicide or insecticide, something like that. And when it gets into the body, if the liver can't detoxify that and break that substance down in a nanosecond, we would die. So the liver is amazing at doing that. Now, we're challenging our liver tremendously in several ways. And of course, chemically, by the foods we eat, the processed foods that we eat, the sugar we eat, the chemicals on the sugar are on the foods. All of those things are going to accumulate in a body. Now, a very efficiently run body can last and have little harm done from a lot of that. But as we continue to pollute ourselves, eventually the body can't keep up with this. Depending on your genetic makeup, your body may be more able to fight this stuff off than others, but also physically, because the nervous system comes out of the brain, goes down through the center of the spine, and exits those, not only the 24 movable segments of the spine, 7 in the neck, 12 in the mid back, and 5 in the low back, but also, or the lumbar spine, but it also goes into the sacrum. There's 31 spinal nerves coming out of your spinal column, going into and eventually to 75 trillion cells. So those 31 spinal nerves, one on each side, between 62 spinal nerves, split up and go to 75 trillion cells. That's a lot of dividing. If you lose the function of one of those spinal nerves, well, just if you divide that, 62 into 75 trillion, my computer won't do that for me. But there's a lot of organs, a lot of cells that aren't going to work right. Your immune system will go down. The ability to communicate to the brain and get reproduction of healthy tissue goes down. So then the nerves that go to the liver are very important. They're in your lower mid back. And how many of us get achy in our low mid back? I find that a lot of chiropractors don't check these areas enough and adjust them. We want to make sure that the nerves going there are alive. Also, and probably of the utmost importance, is the nerve that comes out right at the base of the skull. It's called cranial nerve 11. You have 12 cranial nerves that are nerves that originate in your brain stem. And this cranial nerve 11 comes out and becomes the vagus nerve. And that vagus nerve exits the brain right at the top, comes out of your first cervical vertebra and runs down outside your vertebral column. It's so important that whoever designed these bodies didn't want it to be subject to various injuries to the spinal column. So it runs outside of the spinal column and goes to every cell and organ, every organ in your body, and it runs the autonomic nervous system, the automatic nervous system. So even if you had a severed spine in the mid-thoracic region, the mid-back region, and you were paralyzed from ability to walk, this one nerve would still function because it comes out right at the top and it will keep all of your organs working. So we, in our office, we really look for that particular nerve, the very top nerve in your body, and make sure that it's functioning well and make sure there's no pressure on it. It's the fight or flight mechanism. It's the sympathetic nervous system. And then there is the autonomic parasympathetic nervous system, which the vagus nerve operates. So trauma to the spine can affect almost every organ in your body, and all and to the degree that they're working, whether it's dull or whether it's working at peak performance. Kind of like that example I gave of being in debt, being solvent, or being in affluence. So if your body is full of toxins, it's unable to work well, you've got lots of spinal damage and nerve damage, you're not able to walk well, the vagus nerve is being interrupted, or it comes out of the spine or at the organ level, then you're going to be running in a deficit. Your body's going to be losing health every day, and you're going to be going down and down and down until the symptoms, which can be, we'll just call it pain, but it can be severity of symptoms, gets into a point of where your body is now making you as the being miserable, meaning you're not able to, that could either be physically sick, unable to function because of pain, or it may be like so many patients that come in unable to do the things that give you pleasure in life, unable to, oftentimes people come in, even a young lady in her mid-30s came in the other day, hardworking person. And she says that, all she does is work. By the end of the day, her legs throb. She's exhausted. She used to like to walk on the beach. She wants to go to concerts and be able to stand up and listen to the shows, go out of town and have fun, but her body won't do it. It's in her mid-30s. And that's misery. If you can't enjoy life because of something going on in your body, then you really need to rethink what you're doing. And you can come to our office. We always do a complimentary consultation. There's a lot of great healthcare practitioners out there. There's places where you can go get fit. You can acupuncturists, chiropractors, massage therapists. Everybody can help enhance your body's ability to function. I am partial to chiropractic because I know that we work with your body's innate ability to heal itself. And we're not pain doctors. A lot of times, and Dr. Taylor mentioned this, a lot of times people think chiropractors are pain doctors. You go to a chiropractor when you have a backache, but that's really not the case. I mean, most people do go somewhere for pain relief when they have backaches, and hopefully it's not first going to drugs. However, if that's what you need it. But you always want to start with the least invasive, safest, non-invasive, cheapest, or I should say least expensive approach to getting your body healthy. Sometimes it's just changing your diet, starting to walk every day, drinking more water, quit eating sugar, quit smoking, quit drinking, those type of things. I'll tell you, it's really hard to get motivated sometimes, because that's all the consumption part that you're inundated by what's going on in the world. And if you're really paying attention to the media, no matter where you're listening, it's pretty much all bad. And it's going to cause your fight or flight mechanism to go crazy, your sympathetic nervous system. It's going to create these hormones in your body that produce inflammation in the body over a long period of time. And at the same time that's happening, it's going to shut down your parasympathetic nervous system. That vagus nerve is going to be turned down so that the fight or flight mechanism can be turned up. And if this goes on for 3 years straight, your health is going to be bad. You're going to start to lose the quality of life. Eventually, some kind of chronic disease is going to come on. It could be very subtle. It could be you just don't feel like walking anymore. Seems like every time I do anything, I have aches or pains, or I'm straining my elbow, my back, my hand. These are signs that something's not going right. And hopefully you won't wait to that moment that it's too far gone and you're in misery. I always think that paying attention to pain, and to qualify that, can be chemical, stomach aches, digestive disorders, lung problems, some kind of symptom. We'll just put that into the pain category for right now. Physical pain, disability, lack of motion, lack of ability to function, stiffness, things like headaches, stomach aches, back pains, all of that stuff is telling you you've either got nerve disruption or chemical disruption, or possibly both of those, as well as overwhelmed by mental stress. So any of that stuff, you have to unravel it. And oftentimes you want to get with the one that's going to give you the quickest relief fastest. That's where I believe chiropractic comes in, especially based on what we see when people come into our office and when we use the stem cell machine along with it, the soft wave therapy. It's amazing. People get such great results, usually right away. And I'd say 80% of the people with the stem cell machine get results right away. 10% maybe don't feel much change at first few treatments. 10% might even feel a little bit more sore, and that's actually not a bad sign. It means that the machine is doing what it's supposed to do. It's going in, and at a cellular level, it's creating inflammation. So the inflammation can allow more blood cells, more tissue to flow through your bloodstream. So you get these white blood cells called phagocytes. Phaga means eat, to get in there to eat up the bad tissue, followed by your own stem cells to create new tissue. It also pushes out the chemical toxic waste that's staying in those joints, staying in the injured tissue, causing irritation to the nerves and causing pain. So that's a huge way to start. Also, prior to that, prior to 3.5 years ago, there were not any of these machines around in the United States used for what I'm using it for. Now, a lithotripsy machine has been around 20 years. That's what this is. But the early lithotripsy machines were used to bust up kidney stones. And it took several years and a lot of experiments in Germany and Austria before they figured out that if they make a bigger, broader beam on this thing, it's just sound, only sound is doing this. That sound coming out at 3,355 miles an hour. I used to think it was 3,358 miles an hour, but I was wrong by 3 hours. Goes through and disrupts scar tissue and unhealthy tissue, telling the innate intelligence, go fix this right this time, please. And you know what? Most of the time, I'd say 99.999% of the time, it does a great job. And no matter what, it is working at a cellular level. So just so you know what happens when you come into our office, I'm going to play I wish I could say that every single person's experience was this gentleman's experience. We strive for it as much as we can within human capability of presenting to our patients a chance for them to make a change. We don't want anything to get in the way of you making a decision to change your life, even if it's just with a simple sprain or a life-debilitating injury causing pain or misery. So we're going to listen to my friend Gary, and then I'll be right back. For a life-debilitating injury causing pain or misery. So we're going to listen to my friend Gary, and then I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Dr. McCollum. I have this amazing guy Gary here, who's a new patient to our office, and he just came up to the front and started talking about stuff, and I wanted you to just express what you were telling us.
What is really satisfying to me is coming here and meeting fine people like Natalie, and frequently she's the utility player running around the office, and you can always tell that Natalie's on the phone because she will always say, McCollum Chiropractic, I can help you. And you know what? She can, and she does. And it just makes my heart jump just to realize there's such helpful and friendly people in the office. Everyone from Angus, who runs the TRT machine, the other chiropractors in the office, and the administrative staff like Arlene, very friendly and very helpful. If you want to feel comfortable at a chiropractor's office, come to Dr. McCollum. He's conveniently located off of 41st Avenue.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Call today for a complimentary consultation, 831-459-9990. Okay, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum back for the next few minutes. That was Gary. And what's really funny is when he was doing this little recording in our front office, you hear the staff laughing in the background because what we strive to do, he picked up within 2 or 3 visits in the office, and everything that he talked about, he just came up with it. And we're looking at each other going, wow, we succeeded one time with a guy who really picked up our goal. Let's do it again and again. And so we work very hard, my staff does, and the doctors, to really pay attention to you, what your concerns are, find out if we think we can help you. And if not, we will certainly refer you to somebody else because we want you to be successful. And if we don't think we can help you, we'll let you know. And we always have the $49 stem cell special, which allows you to come in, meet the office, get an x-ray of the area of problem. We do a consultation examination, and then we'll do a treatment if it's appropriate. If there's some kind of condition that says that it isn't, we will let you know that off the bat. And if it's before we go farther, I won't charge you just to sit down and talk to you about it. But, I don't think it's the right place for you. But you have nothing to lose that way and everything to gain, because if we can help you turn back that clock that's going from symptoms to severe symptoms to pain to misery, then we can help you. We can give you hope, but you have to take the action step. That action step is call our office or somebody's office. Our office number is 831-459-9990, and just call up, and we're not there today, but leave a message and go, please call me. I want to come in and try the stem cell special. I want to find out about your office and see if you can help me. You can always go to info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com and leave an email there, and we'll get back to you. I started off today talking about a friend of mine. A bunch of us met last night for a birthday of a friend, and I was talking to this amazing young lady, and she was telling me that, and we knew this, that she could barely get out of the house, and we were so glad to see her there because she's taking care of her mother in her last throes of life, and she is putting so much of her time into taking care of her mother. I respect that so much. And but she brought up, this point, and I thought I would make the show about it today as much as I could. And that's, she goes, when pain becomes more than pain and it becomes misery, where do you go from there? Now, in this particular case, and we know that you do have the ability to take that last of life cocktail now, and they're looking at doing this, and the mother's not quite ready to do it, but she's close. She's at that point of misery. Now, I don't know the background of her. I know that she's in her 90s. I think she's 93. I don't know what kind of health her life had, or she had throughout her life, what kind of injuries, what she was exposed to. But I do know that, well, I do know a few things about her. And but the point is that if you could hedge your bet, shouldn't you hedge it? There's so many of us that are, and not even enough of us are paying attention to our legacy financially. We work hard, we get an education, get a job, put money away for the future, and now that's even questionable on the institutions we put it in. Everything in this last several years has been shaken to the ground on those stable things that we grew up in this country believing in, that were never going to go away. And that threat, I remember as a kid, there was a threat of nuclear war back in the 60s, and they'd say, okay, we're going to have a drill. Everybody get under your desk and, put your head between your knees because we're going to survive this nuclear blast. Now, I'm not
a proponent for that, but I know that we are being we're in a point where every place we turn, our sympathetic nervous system is being turned on, the fight or flight mechanism, the wary mechanism. People are not as nice as they used to be. There's so much anger out there in the world, and that's not helping anybody. So you need to, I recommend, what I try to do is try to serve people, try to help do something that will make somebody else feel better, because by doing that, I know that I feel better. So selfishly, I like to help people. But no matter what, no matter where you are, you can always improve. You can always make a decision to make a change. You can get out of debt physically, health-wise, get to solvency, which means, hey, I'm doing okay. I'm not having to take medications, or I've reduced them, working with your medical doctor, because I can't tell you what to do there. But you get to a point where your body's organs are working right. And if you need one worked on, get it worked on. If you have a part in your car, like an alternator or a carburetor, or the brakes that aren't working, you don't just keep driving the whole thing. You get that thing fixed. And there's so many healthcare providers out there, natural ones, that can help you with those different organ problems. Making sure, number one, that the nervous system, the power going there is working. That's chiropractic. If you don't have the power going there, you can throw supplements at it all day long, but it won't be able to absorb it, because the communication from the brain down to that body part is not working right. At any rate, if you know anybody, including yourself, that sometimes you feel hopeless, sometimes you feel miserable, sometimes you feel my body's just giving up on me, then you know what? Draw a line in the sand. Get a piece of paper, write down on the left side of that paper what your life is like right now, your activities, your hobbies that you used to do, things that you like to do, have fun. And then on the right side, write everything that you would like to do, call it a bucket list, but not really. I mean, call it this is how my life should be every day. I should be able to get up and not be in pain, and not think about what am I going to do to get through the day without suffering. And, a lot of people are getting through life with unhealthy bodies with very few symptoms. So just take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, how healthy do I look? Is this really how I'm supposed to be spending my life? And if you really look at it, I don't think that there's a really large portion of our population that are incredibly healthy. So I'm always trying to work on my health. I'm 67 years old. Things hurt. I've been adjusting bodies for 33 plus years, something like that. And it's like playing tackle football, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6. And I have to learn to take care of my body as well. And so my message is to me as well as to you. And I really appreciate KSCO. I'm so glad for Michael Zwirling to keep this thing going. There's a lot of potential here. You should come by and say hi to these guys and give them your support. Dave Michaels is running the switchboard today. He's got his Dave Cave open most of the time to help you guys get the nutrients you need to help turn your body around. I really support them. And we're going to go out with Steve Funderburg and Lindsay, can't remember his last name right now, who's got 8 Grammy Awards for the song that they're singing. I really appreciate them. And we will talk to you all soon. Who's got 8 Grammy Awards for the song that they're singing. I really appreciate them. And we will talk to you all soon.
News this hour from townhall.com.